Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Today we've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. Most folks put their faith in something, right? God, family, whatever. Me? My hero was a movie star, James Dean. Cool dude. Didn't preach, didn't walk on water. Just rode a motorcycle, stayed out late, and dated pretty girls. That's the kind of hero I understood. Leather jacket type. No sweet stuff. I first saw Rebel Without a Cause late one night on TV when I was a kid. 10 years old, and that movie just stuck with me. I ended up owning both his movies, though Rebel was always my favorite, way more than that other one, Giant. Years later, my high school class went to Griffith Observatory, a spot from Rebel. Another school was there too. I saw this girl in the crowd who looked just like a young Natalie Wood. She was with her class. I walked right up to her and, like a dumb kid, asked her to marry me. She laughed, said her name was Ella, and pointed out we didn't even know each other. Quick as a flash, I told her we had all the time in the world to figure that out. I got her number, and 3 years later, when we were both in college, we got married. Ella was already pregnant. I had a crummy part-time job cleaning boats at the marina. Didn't pay much, but I liked being around the water. Money was tight for a honeymoon, so I used my keys. Maybe shouldn't have. And we spent the weekend on this big yacht, the owner none the wiser. Ella loved it, thought it was rebellious, outlawish. Said it turned her on that we'd kind of broken the rules. But then she'd say things like maybe she should have married the rich guy who owned the boat. I was so gone on her, I didn't see the red flag waving right in front of me. A few months later, our first son was born. My whole world flipped. Suddenly, I wasn't number one anymore. This tiny human was. Holding him, just minutes old, I cried like a baby. Thanked Ella over and over. I loved her so much. I would have done anything for her. Her parents, though, they hated my guts, even with a grandson. They were loaded and paid for the rest of Ella's college and then, years later, her law school. I got a job at a weekly entertainment paper. Wrote movie reviews under one name, music under another, restaurants under a third. Low pay, but I learned a lot. Eventually, it led to a better job at a daily paper with real money. I also did some freelance magazine stuff. Wasn't rolling in dough, but I made a decent living. We were happy enough, lived comfortably on just my salary. Then things started to shift. Ella got a high-paying job as a lawyer. 10 years flew by. I was happy, thought she was too. Her parents never let up on me, still bitter about the pregnancy. And once she started earning more than me, which was always the case after her first lawyer job, her dad made sure to point it out every chance he got. Even to waitresses when I was paying the bill. I was proud of my work even though I never won a Pulitzer. Got nominated twice, which felt like a big deal to me. But Ella just said it showed I was a loser. That stung, man, it really did. When I wanted to buy a bigger TV, she humiliated me in front of the salesman, saying I just loved spending her money. Right then, I opened a new credit card and bank account just in my name so I wouldn't have to deal with that again. I didn't know what happened to the sweet, loving girl I married. Ella was a lawyer at a small firm and I was a newspaper guy. We had 2 kids, almost teenagers, a minivan, a golden retriever. Looked like a perfect suburban picture from the outside. Then Ella's firm merged with another one, and everything went downhill fast. I didn't know what to do. I tried harder. Flowers, compliments, being attentive. She'd smile, kiss my cheek, but that was it. Nothing warmed her up. I'm not ashamed to say it, I was heartbroken. My whole life was built around her. I loved her, would have been lost without her. I kept trying to figure out how to fix things. I'm not stupid, but I was clueless. Desperate, I talked to my sister. She said once a woman loses respect or that loving feeling for a man, it's over. Her heart moves on, and that's that. I could feel Ella slipping away. She started dressing way too flashy for a lawyer. I searched the house, her car, looking for signs of another guy, but found nothing. In my head, it was 50-50. Either she was cheating or her hormones were messed up, and she just wasn't into me anymore. We hadn't been intimate in weeks, and I couldn't even remember the last time she said, "I love you," or kissed me properly. She worked late a few nights a week, which the kids and I hated. Her phone and computer were always locked, said it was client confidentiality, but I doubted it. The 2 new senior partners she worked for were real jerks. Actually, lawyers, same thing, right? These guys, Mark and Mike, were like movie stars, twin brothers who looked like young Robert Wagner. The few times I met them, they looked right through me, treated me like dirt, and they were way too touchy with Ella. One time, I pulled Mark's hand off Ella's waist and asked if he wanted a sexual harassment suit or something more painful. He accused me of threatening him and told me to chill out or he'd get a restraining order. A restraining order won't stop me from putting you in the hospital if I find out you're sleeping with my wife, I told him. He just laughed in my face, said if I made as much money as Ella or was a decent lover, I wouldn't have to worry. Ella said nothing, took their side. That's when I knew it was war. I was careful not to make any more direct threats, knowing she'd testify against me. Then, without a word to me, Ella went on a business trip with those two for 3 days, missed our oldest son's elementary school graduation. Didn't even blink. Our son was crushed. Ran out of the room crying when she said it wasn't a big deal and he should man up. He was 10. How's he supposed to man up to that? She came back with a bad sunburn. Didn't look like they spent much time in an office. Probably a beach. I was secretly glad she was in pain. I also noticed no tan line where her wedding ring should have been. She hadn't worn it. Things went back to a weird normal for a few weeks, but I refused to sleep with her until she got tested. She was furious but did it. I think the thought of being sick scared her too. I tried to keep my anger from boiling over. Just simmer. The only reason I didn't divorce her right then was the kids. In a few years they'd be out of high school and I'd be done with her, free. But secretly, I prayed she'd stop messing around, and we could fix things. I know I was somewhere between an idiot and an optimist. My only excuse was that despite everything, no matter how mad I was, how much I resented her, I still loved her and hoped she'd love me again if I was patient. Ella was getting ready in our bedroom for our 10th anniversary party. Also Halloween, weirdly. The theme was the 50s, even though neither of us was even born then. She was using a ton of hairspray on her teased-up 50s hair, wearing a poodle skirt. Asked me to spray the back of her head, but warned me to put out my cigarette first. Said the spray was like a flamethrower if it hit a flame. I was dressed as a magician, had a lighter and some fake cigarettes in my pocket for some dumb tricks. My naive hope was that this party might somehow bring us back together, let us forget all the crap that had happened. I even set up a slideshow on the big screen, pictures of us over the years, my not-so-subtle way of showing her what she was throwing away. Our friends and co-workers showed up, and the scotch was flowing. I hadn't invited Mark or Mike, but there they were anyway. That blatant disregard for my feelings just made me angrier. Ella had way too much to drink. First, she was all chummy with Mark and Mike, then way too touchy. Too much hand-on-shoulder, hand-on-back stuff. I walked over and pulled Mark's hand off her shoulder again. Ella quickly put it back and loudly announced that she wasn't my slave or my property. I pulled his hand off again. Told him I'd have no problem breaking his arm if he touched her like that again. Ella was furious. Mark looked scared. Mike laughed and put his arm around Ella's waist. I raised my hand to hit him, but Mark, who was behind me, grabbed me and knocked me to the ground, calling me a cuck in front of everyone. Ella told me to just accept it, that these two were her lovers, and if I tried to divorce her, she'd take me for everything, even the kids, and I'd be paying so much alimony I'd end up homeless. Said the only reason she hadn't divorced me was because I was free childcare. Ella, Mark, and Mike all laughed at me, then went outside to the garden. Right then, lying on the floor, two things clicked. One, I finally understood why Ella had been so distant and disrespectful. She was sleeping with both of them. Two, I was going to divorce her, no matter her threats, no discussion, no second chances. And the second thing? I was going to get revenge on those two to get my damn self-respect back. I didn't care about being broke or even going to jail. Still on the ground, I pulled out a cigarette and lit it with my butane lighter, the flame shooting up about 3 inches. Took a breath and went into the backyard to find them. They weren't there. Figured they went back inside. Upstairs. I followed. Found Ella in our bed with both of them. I rushed over, tried to pull them off. The nightstand fell over, knocking the alarm clock and a can of hairspray onto the floor. Mark knocked me down again, and then Mike punched me in the nose, broke it. Blood gushed out. Mark kicked me in the ribs, but since he was barefoot, it probably hurt him almost as much as my broken rib hurt me. Then Mike straddled me, pinning me down, laughing as he tried to shove his junk in my mouth while Mark tried to hold my arms. I grabbed the can of hairspray in one hand, my lighter in the other. Lit the lighter and sprayed that flammable stuff upwards, right into Mike's naked crotch. A foot-long flame scorched his privates. His scream could have woken the dead. I turned to Mark, also naked, and did the same thing. Mike's screams were loud, but Mark's were something else. Ella knelt next to Mark, egging him on to sexually assault me, like some twisted cheerleader. So, the flames reached her face and hair too, and they went up fast. I struggled to my feet, grabbed a pillow, and smothered the flames on her head. I saw how badly her scalp was burned. Knew her hair would never be the same, and her face would be scarred for life. Well, not my problem anymore. You reap what you sow, right? I called 911, asked for 3 ambulances and a cop car. Poured cold water on Ella's head to ease the pain. We can work through this, she sobbed, looking at the pitiful remains of her lover's manhood. It was just sex. We can go to counseling. I was stunned by how stupid and cliché she sounded. Said nothing. I stood over the still crying, screaming men on the floor. Does your little pee-pee hurt? I taunted. Well, I hope you enjoyed screwing my wife, because it's the last sex either of you will ever have. Was it worth it? I don't think they could hear me over their moaning. I put on a big show of my pain for the cops, my bloody face and broken rib doing the talking. The fact that both Mark and Mike were naked and burned from the waist down pretty much proved I was on the ground, and they were on top of me when I lit them up. Ella never got over the burn marks on her face and losing all her hair. Mark and Mike went to prison for sexually assaulting me. When they got out, they had to register. Ella tried to escape the shame, finally moved to another state. My sons and I never saw or heard from her again. My boys and their friends started calling me Torch, like the comic book guy. I wasn't a complete jerk. I let Ella's parents visit their grandsons. When they asked about their daughter, I thought about calling her Scarface. But I couldn't be that mean, despite how they treated me. Instead, I just said I had no interest in the woman they raised. My head was a mess. My sons and I saw a therapist for a while. The kids seemed to deal with their mom leaving, but I didn't find much comfort. The therapist suggested writing about it might help. So, I signed up for a screenwriting class at UCLA. Watched a bunch of horror movies to get the vibe. Then I wrote a screenplay about a crazy, cheated-on husband who hunts down and kills cheating wives for money, using a flamethrower. To be honest, it was a terrible script, more funny than scary. The running joke before each murder was, "You wait here in mortal danger while I go for help." I was almost embarrassed by how bad it was, but everyone in my class loved the mix of humor and horror. One of the students was a literary agent. He sold the script to some low-budget company. I only made a few thousand upfront, but I also got a cut of the ticket sales. The movie was a huge hit, and I ended up making a fortune. The name of the movie? Light My Fire. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.